I like to move it. Another day, another Fortinet vulnerability. And from r/jokes, what do you get when you mix a duck with a squirrel? A nutquacker. These stories and much more in today's episode of MSP Dispatch.
This episode is presented by OIT VoIP. Enhance your client's communication abilities with our VoIP solution, featuring integrated billing, on-demand training, and live US support. Collaborate seamlessly with Microsoft Teams integration and put your entire phone system in your pocket with MOVEit. Improve your offerings and increase profitability with reliable service for 1/10 of the average MSP acquisition cost. To learn more, visit oit.co or dial 844-CALL-OIT.
Good morning and welcome to the June 13th episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. I'm Ray Orsini, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Tony Francisco. How you doing, Tony?
Excellent, brother. Excellent. It's good to see you. You've been traveling so much. There's so many shows happening. You've got security events. You've got me popping pills to address my anxiety because of security events. Talk to me.
I mean, yes, I missed you last week at IT and Secure. I know you were off doing your own thing. And I go to an event. You're not there. Next thing I know, the sky is blood red. I'm not saying they're related. I'm just saying it happened. So for those that don't know, there was the big story last week. Smoke coming out of Canada, Canadian fires, turning the sky. You could see this in New York. Businesses were shutting down. Blood red. It looked like an Instagram filter. Did you see these pictures, Tony?
Absolutely unreal. Like, I actually thought the pictures were fake.
Yeah, I did too. Like the first couple that were sent to me. And of course, the first couple sent to me were by our own Matt Fox, who's very adept at Photoshop and everything else. And I'm like, yeah, okay, BS. And then I started seeing it on TikTok. I started seeing it in MSP Geek and MRU and some of the other places. And I was just astounded.
The pollution, it's horrible. What's that meter of?
I don't know. I think we need to buy air meters now. I mean, we have HEPA filters and stuff, but I think we need to buy air meters. Not because we're anywhere near New York, but just in case, and it gives us something else to purchase. So sorry, Kelly. That'll work.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
I mean, you still sound great. I say you do your stories wearing that. But for now, we have very special guests. So let's get into the news, man.
Let's do it.
In our top security story, more vulnerabilities found in MOVEit File Transfer Software, written by Brandon Viglorio for theregister.com. Security firms assisting Progress Software in investigating a ransomware attack on MOVEit File Transfer Suite have found even more vulnerabilities than reported last week. Cybersecurity firm Huntress made the discovery during a code review. The newly found exploits are separate from the previously reported issue, leading to the release of another patch for MOVEit Transfer and MOVEit Cloud to address the latest bugs. To discuss this and other issues, joining us is John Hammond of Huntress. How you doing, John?
Hey, everyone. I'm well. Thanks so much for letting me join you here.
No, thanks for coming on, man. I know you were part of the team, yourself and Caleb, that actually investigated this. Tell us a little background first. What is MOVEit? What's the purpose of the software?
Oh, goodness. All right. So I'll do my best to give a little bit of a crash course and speed run. But MOVEit Transfer is the software provided by Progress, the name of the vendor, that's traditionally used for moving and transferring files. Think, hey, some cheesy Dropbox, think like SFTP, your file transfer protocol, but with a little bit more of a graphical user interface, something a little bit more friendly. And it's used, at least from what we've seen, across a handful of other providers, whether it's government or schools or organizations that are just trying to order transportation like airplanes, etc. It's not a huge attack surface across the internet. I think we only had about one partner that was even compromised out of like the 6 or 10 that we had in our partner base that were using it. But we are seeing some of the big victims like British Airways and Aer Lingus or University of Rochester. Some crazy stuff.
So what's going on here? What's the new stuff? Because I know Tony reported on this last week, the previous one. So what did you guys find?
Yeah, so the gist is a SQL injection vulnerability. That was the big component of the original attack chain. chain that we recreated about last week that we were kind of stoked that we got it done. It worked through 3 different phases, really, like a server-side request forgery, SQL injection, and then ultimately remote code execution. The patches that have been released mitigated some components of it, but what we're digging into, there were still some other opportunities for SQL injection that could leak data from the database and pull things back that could be used by a threat actor, gain access, and do more damage. We had disclosed those to Progress even following the first patch, and now they've re-released a second patch and this new CVE, I believe CVE 2023-35036. Now folks are, back up in arms trying to patch it again. So sorry.
John, a question for you. 2 things. One, I want to thank you for coming to us live from, I believe this is Sagittarius Dwarf, or is it Hydrus Galaxy? I don't know where you are. You're clearly
over in the Milky Way in space.
Yeah, but thank you for coming out of your normal Milky Way activity to address this. That's how important this is. But let's talk to the pedestrians out there. Does this serve as a risk to someone that is not directly consuming the MOVEit protocol internally? Meaning you're doing business with someone that is consuming it. Is there a chance to be affected by a SQL injection attack or a MOVEit attack? Just for those out there who don't understand what SQL injections actually are.
So the cybersecurity professional in me says yes, undoubtedly.
Don't you know that and I know that, but we can't talk about it. For the simpletons, generally speaking,
maybe. Probably with a little asterisk and a foot. I know. I'm sorry. My lawyer answer, right? But
it depends. Go ahead. You can say it depends.
It depends.
No, I mean, you got to keep in mind, look, we have data on the internet and we use different services. We work with businesses and other providers, and what they use could still have its own flaws and weaknesses here and there some way or another. Maybe up the stack, however, up the tree, MOVEit is part of the operations. And it's really hard to know that for sure, but I think undoubtedly, look, everyone here in the cybersecurity scene, or not, if you're a pedestrian, look, it's still something to be aware of and still something to dive into some rapid response and recover and remediate.
So without getting too technical, just for people that are trying to translate what John just said, he in the nicest way said, hey, listen, if MOVEit is used, and SQL injection is done in the back end and the underpinnings, and then that was used as a conduit or a mechanism to obtain administrative privileges inside the organization, which then, by definition, if you're doing business with them, could affect you. Is that a good?
Yeah. That's much better than I said it. Thank you, Tim.
No, you're so nice about it, though. You're being so nice. But it could easily move up the food chain. Once an entity, meaning someone outside of your entity, once an entity is compromised, there is a multitude of penetration and affiliation opportunities available. Ray, hand this over because I'm going to go back to my anxiety medication because John's here.
Well, I'm going to go focus on the positive. John, how do we fix it? Is this a matter of is this patching an on-premises software? Is this the cloud that's going to get patched automatically? Do we just pray and drink? What's the takeaway here?
Is hope a good strategy here?
So if I may, it's all of the above. Hey, folks that are running on-premise instances, do a little bit of prayer, have some drinks, but patch. The same thing I know you've been beating the dead horse this whole episode here. Cloud instances, I think, were brought down for investigation and response, and I don't know for sure if they're back up. But look, the core of it is, hey, we got to take this stuff seriously. I'm happy that we're able to uncover more things to fix, and that is the goal. Is to improve security, keep bolstering the security posture and security landscape, and keep your ear to the ground, see what is coming next and how we can stay on top of it, keep with the pulse.
I know you said you had one of 6 partners affected, or one of 6 partners that had it installed, one of them were affected. Was there any actual exploits from this? Was there any actual data leak, breach, anything like that?
We personally have not observed any exfiltration. However, that has been what others have seen across the industry. Just pulling data, getting files, trying to steal stuff for extortion sake, for blackmail. It is attributed to the Clop ransomware gang, and they've posted on their dark web onion site, hey, victims, come let us know and we'll help you. But truthfully, there was no ransomware, actually encrypting files, which was odd to me because they had the capability with the
It
end
seems
of
like
this
that's the
vulnerability.
low-hanging fruit, right? Like that's the go-to for this stuff.
But I think it's an interesting trend, and cut my cord if I'm talking for too long here, but I think it's odd and interesting, maybe a new business model where there's no encryption for ransomware, but it's just the blackmail and extortion that, hey, we have all your files, we're going to publish them unless we do business here.
Do you think that's the fear of, you think they're taking away and saying we don't actually need to encrypt everything, we have enough cards in our hand, that's enough? And the fear that we could do this if we wanted to.
Right.
They're saying the data is the bigger play here than just the encryption.
Right.
Cool. Well, for this stuff and much more, please go visit huntress.com. We'll have John's LinkedIn in the show notes below. John, thank you. And it wasn't just you and Caleb Stewart and the entire Huntress team for doing what you guys do. And go check them out on Wednesday. We'll talk about it in our resource of the week, but they're doing a whole GDAP thing. We'll talk about it later. Thanks so much, John.
Thanks all.
Thanks, John. Keeping us honest. And in my first story from bleepingcomputer.com, Fortinet fixes a critical RCE flaw in Fortigate SSL-VPN devices. Fortinet, a renowned cybersecurity firm, has unveiled a series of firmware updates to address a critical, undisclosed pre-authentication remote code execution, RCE, vulnerability in its SSL-VPN devices. The vulnerability is officially known as CVE 2023-27997. Despite not being directly acknowledged in release notes, experts hint that these updates rectifying a serious SSL-VPN RCE issue set to be fully disclosed on June 13th, 2023. French cybersecurity firm Olympe Cyber Defense has warned that the flaw could allow interference via the VPN, even if multi-factor authentication is enabled. Charles Foll, a security researcher from Lexfo, confirmed that the updates indeed addressed a crucial RCE vulnerability that he co-discovered. Given the popularity of Fortinet's devices and the sheer number of them exposed online, this is considered an urgent patch to mitigate the risk of data theft and ransomware attacks. Ray, excuse me, I'm going to go to my pills for the anxiety of the ransomware and security flaws. What are your thoughts on this?
And this is why I drink. So, it feels like, okay, so this is not even the first or second or even third Fortinet vulnerability this year. We've reported on them here. Sorry, Phil. Sorry. And so I wonder if they're getting hit the hardest or they're the most transparent about the process. Because I got to give it to them. The reports come out very, very, very quickly. So I don't know if that's I don't know if that's on purpose or they're just doing what they think they should be doing. Either way, the information's getting out there, so it's hard to fault them. Yes, I would like less vulnerabilities, but let's be honest, that's not going to happen. So absent of that, transparency and notification, I think, are the yays here. I don't know. I'm trying to be positive, man. What's your opinion?
I think you hit it on the head in the beginning, where Fortinet, are there that many Microsoft hacks, or is it just that Microsoft is that popular and the ratio of hacks to popularity consumption is relative to the consumption? So one of the, now this is back in the, again, going way back to my days, Microsoft Exchange hosting, I'm dating myself, and the youngins are on the video going, what is that? People actually hosted it? Yes, in the days before Office 365, we hosted, and we had racks and racks and racks, aisles, rows of racks in our data center that house these pizza box servers. And the hard drive has something on there called a parity error, and there's data corruption rates, et cetera, but it is 0.0001%. The larger the hard drive, the more that 0.0001% equates to. So if you did the math, the larger the hard drive, which by the way used to have what were the like maybe 100 gig drives, oh my gosh, 50 gig drives. Oh, he's on mute. The
sad part, I wasn't on mute, and then I muted myself before I started talking. No, I was gonna say gigabytes. I mean, I remember old, 20 or 240 meg spindles, right? Like these were big bad boy 5.25 drives, and yeah.
Well,
Terabytes.
but now we're like, I have 16 terabyte drives or 20 terabyte drives out there. The point is that 0.0001% is no longer a grain of sand.
4 terabytes.
It's not. Oh my gosh! It's not even a paper plate. It's like a raft, and so that target is so large now. So when you think about the popularity and the consumption of Fortinet in this case, is it that the ransomware, the hacks have remained relatively consistent with the percentage of consumption, or is there just a systemic flaw in the platform? Ray, give me your final thoughts, and I've got an interesting point right after you're done, because
I have no final thoughts. Just keep patching. Just keep patching. I mean, Dory had it right. Just keep patching and go on and make sure your remote administration portals are shut off. Please
update your stuff. But the one thing I want to talk about is it is incredibly important that everyone updates. And I really tip of the hat to the vendors that have acknowledged, hey, we have an issue here. And in some cases, it's a Barracuda, I think it was. They said, hey, we don't recommend you update. We recommend you replace this equipment. It's that flawed. But can you imagine if there was no place to do updates? Like Reddit is the perfect place, right, Ray?
In our third top story in business, Reddit communities go dark in protest at changes, written by Tom Gherkin of BBC.com. Reddit has approximately 2.8 million subreddits. Of those, more than 130,000 are active communities. 3,500 to 6,000 of those subs have announced that they're going dark from June 12th through June 14th. That is approximately 4% of the total active subs. Thousands of Reddit communities have gone private in protest against changes being made to the site, specifically at the introduction of charges for using Reddit's API. Third-party apps, including Apollo, Reddit is Fun, Sync, Red Planet, and others have announced they are going to shut down due to the new pricing on June 30th. As a result, major subreddit moderators have made their communities private for 48 hours, with over 3,489 subreddits, up to 6,000, participating in the blackout, including popular communities such as r/gaming, r/aww, r/music, r/today I learned, and r/pics. Reddit CEO Steve Huffman has acknowledged the protest, emphasizing the platform's need for self-sustainability. The protest aims to highlight the importance of community moderation and unpaid work by the moderators. Moderators want Reddit admins to recognize the value of moderators and the potential negative impact of the changes on website traffic. Critics argue against the fairness of the pricing, while Reddit claims the charges are necessary to support third-party apps. At the time of this report, the charges were going to be 0.24 cents per 1,000 queries. In comparison to other APIs, that is actually very expensive. The blackout is expected to continue until Reddit considers the changes, and some communities plan to remain inaccessible indefinitely until the policy is reversed. Tony, I want my Reddit API free. Am I going to get it just by blocking out Reddit for a while?
See, here's the problem with this, is that it's kind of like the internet. It's just a trend. Not like you really need it for information, collaboration, maybe the evolution of the planet. I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated. However, sitting there crying about it, I don't think that's a good path to resolution. I do believe there is a valid point on both sides of the aisle, one of which, of course, is the operational underpinnings to support the very platform that we're all referring to, because not having it there, for the most part, completely dilutes any value of protesting against it or not. So there has to be a path to fund this. And since a majority of their funds, from what I understand, comes from the advertising, which is completely bypassed by the third-party APIs to the Apollo apps, et cetera, which I personally use and I like it. Maybe there's a way to meet in the middle, because we have to be able to support this. Now, that being said, if the protests are specifically to talk about the viability of the moderators, I don't think anyone's disputing that at all. I think the moderators are literally what runs. Hey, you know what? Actually, funny. Ray, do you know a moderator in any way, shape, or form?
I should probably point out, for the sake of clarity and transparency, I am a moderator of r/MSP with over 140,000 subscribers, as well as half a dozen other subs plus the other communities. So we are directly affected by this. The moderators of r/MSP have decided not to go dark. We discussed it together. We posted in the forums, and we were torn a new one as per Reddit standard, because a lot of people did not agree. But looking at our cohorts, our other peers in the industry, r/MSSP, r/ConnectWise, r/Kaseya, r/Synchro, none of them. I found a list of over 50 subs that are MSP adjacent. Not a single one of them was dark. So it seems the professional industry subs stayed open. And actually, r/Joke, which has millions of subscribers and where our opening joke from the teaser came from, was also open.
What?
So,
hold on.
Yeah, these are, it's not everybody. It's 6,000, but it's not everybody. And like I said, 4%, I don't think that's enough to move the needle. I think they did need to start charging for API. That's not a question.
Well, I want to ask you, what is a
Yeah,
solution to this, Ray? What's a solution? Right now, I'm this 5-year-old kid talking to the Pope about the Bible. That you do this all day, every day. This is your thing, man. What do you think should be done?
So I think the problem is and I'm not saying this to be demeaning, but it feels like the owners of Reddit are also 5-year-olds. I look back at Larry and Sergey. They knew when they were too young and too immature to run a $1 billion company, and they stepped back and they gave Ellison the lead and said, take over for a while, teach us what we should be doing. And then when the time came, they took the reins back. Nothing wrong with that. Well, the Reddit owners have said, the founders have said very plainly, they did not expect this to happen. They did not expect this to get as big as it was. And if we all remember Dig, Reddit is here because Dig screwed up, right? Kevin Marks screwed up. So, and made a bunch of changes the community did not agree with. Kevin Rose, sorry. But yeah, sorry, Kevin Marks. You're good for this. But I'm sure you did something else. No. But that's how Reddit came about. And so, or Reddit gained popularity. Now, they had no business model. They had ads. Their API didn't send ads. They had third-party users. Apollo, Reddit is fun. I use Reddit is fun. You said you use Apollo. And Reddit is fun, at least, was suppressing the ads in the API once it was finally introduced and putting their own ads. Well, Reddit, you have a terms of service. Learn to enforce it, or charge for something. Charge a little extra if they're going to remove the ads. There could have been an easy partnership and ramp up with these people. 24 cents per 1,000 queries is ridiculous. And I get they're trying to ramp up to their IPO. I understand that they've been trying to do this for years already. But it feels like this feels like one of those Elon Musk tantrums that we talk so much about, where we have something bad. Instead of making it incrementally better, they went complete 180 and said, we're going to make all the monies. And can you remind me how that Twitter verified thing actually worked out for people? Did that work out for Elon? Are we all still paying $8 a month? Yeah. Okay, so on this one, I'm almost scared to say, go to our Discord, tell us in the comments, tell us on Reddit, tell us how you feel.
Bold.
Because
You're
I already had several hundred people rip me a new one when we said why we weren't going to do this. But I do want to hear from you. We absolutely do want to have the conversation. Should we have shut down? Should we not have shut down? Do you think it's going to make a difference? Tell us on Discord, tell us in the comments, and we'll bring it up next time. But for now, Tony, you got some notables for us?
Let's get into the notables. And my first notable mention from theregister.com, cybersecurity firm Red Balloon Security has automated cold boot attacks, techniques that can extract decrypted data from memory modules by freezing them. The founder, Ang Kui, showcased an affordable robot that can pull off and read one RAM chip at a time, retrieving all data, including encryption keys and bootloader code. The strategy is a response to hardware manufacturers making device increasingly resistant to reverse engineering. Successfully demonstrated on devices like Siemens Somatic S7-1500 PLC and Cisco IP Phone 8800 series, the technique could also be applied to advanced DDR4 and DDR5 memory with a more expensive readout platform. Countermeasures like physical memory encryption exist in modern gaming consoles, but are largely absent in critical infrastructure devices. And on my next notable mention from CNET.com, Netflix adds over 200,000 new subscribers after the password sharing crackdown. Netflix's new policy of charging extra for an account sharing has led to a significant surge in new subscriptions, according to data analytics firm Antenna. In the days following the policy change, Netflix experienced its 4 highest days of U.S. user acquisition since Antenna began tracking subscriptions 4.5 years ago, with nearly 100,000 daily signups on May 26th and May 27th. This surpasses the spike in signups during the initial COVID-19 lockdowns. Although cancellations have increased, new subscriptions outweigh them. Under the new policy, an additional $8 US is charged on top of the subscription fee for the account sharing outside the household. The premium, standard, and new ad-supported plans offer varying levels of account sharing, while the basic plan doesn't allow extra members. If the new policy is prohibitive, users could consider other services such as Max, Disney+, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video, which currently don't charge for password sharing.
In my first notable mention, Salesforce pledges to invest $500 million in generative AI startups, written by Kyle Wiggers of TechCrunch.com. Salesforce is doubling its investment in generative AI startups by expanding its generative AI fund from $250 million to $500 million. The fund focuses on supporting startups developing responsible generative AI solutions for the enterprise and prioritizing ethical AI technologies. Salesforce Ventures has already invested in several generative AI firms and aims to differentiate itself by supporting a diverse range of applications. Alongside the fund expansion, the company has launched AI for Impact Accelerator, offering $2 million in grants to education, workforce, and climate organizations to advance the equitable and ethical use of trusted AI. The generative AI market is predicted to be worth around $109 billion by 2030, and executives anticipate significant business impact from this technology. In my second notable mention, Barracuda has notified its users and is continuing investigation. Written by Barracuda staff at Barracuda.com. Barracuda discovered abnormal network traffic from their email security gateway, also known as ESG. The appliances on May 18, 2023, identified as a vulnerability CVE 2023-28681 in the ESG appliance on May 2023. Global security patch was deployed on May 20th, and a script was implemented on affected appliances to contain unauthorized access. The investigation revealed the vulnerability affected only ESG appliances, but no impact on other Barracuda products or services. On June 6, Barracuda advised immediate replacement of impacted ESG appliances, regardless of a patch version, and recommends reaching out to support if the replacement has not been carried out yet. Barracuda has notified its users and is continuing the investigation. In our resource of the week, you have less than 24 hours to register for the Huntress webinar talking about granular delegated access permissions that are going to be coming up soon. It's going to be hosted by Kelvin Tehelar and Nick Ross, both Microsoft MVPs. Link to the registration is below, and we will also include a link to our promotional teaser for the same webinar.
There are plenty of amazing upcoming events taking place across the community, so let's see what's happening this week. On June 13th through the 14th, an in-person event, the Ultimate IT Growth Conference in Orlando, Florida. Also on the 13th through the 14th, another in-person event, Channel Partners Europe in London. And on June 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Cyber Insurance Masterclass, Closing the Gap, Is My Stack Insurance Ready? Presented by Huntress. And coming from the MSP Media Network this week, we have, later today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Pitch It 2023 Vendor Spotlight featuring Monjur and Nodeware. And then on June 16th at 10 a.m. Eastern, another Pitch It Vendor Spotlight with Orpheus Cyber and Scalable MSP. And as always, on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, MSP Dispatch presented by the MSP Media Network.
Hey, I'm Powerhouse Ray,
And I'm Super Cousin Danny.
and we're the hosts of
The Tech Bar.
Pull up a stool with us every other Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern for drinks, jokes, and games with your friends in the MSP channel. So how'd you like today's show? If you liked it, hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't, go and hit it 3 times. And if you want to hear more, go and hit that subscribe button on the YouTubes or your favorite podcatcher. Did you know we also have a Discord where we post stories all week? You can propose your own stories and even vote on which ones we'll cover. As my friend Rich Mankey says, make sure to tell a friend. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at MSP Media TV. Have any questions? Email news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode, or leave us a voicemail, 833 MSP Network. Tony, the skies are red, the Reddits are dark, the Fortinets are vulnerable. Is this the end? This, for once,
It's
you
not
have
really the
something
end.
I don't have.
No, it's
I
good.
need one of those.
Totally good. No fires out. I'm not worried. Why would you be worried?
Good show as always, brother. Hey, listen, things are happening all over the world. Fortinet, you know the problem is the Canadians didn't do a firmware update. That's why the fires are there. I'm convinced of it.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. Now I'm getting it. Now I get it.
When I trip and I fall, I look at my shoes. I say, I should have updated the firmware on my shoes. That's what it happened. I know it.
You know what you remind me of with the mask? Have you seen the Doctor Who episode, Are You My Mummy?
Yeah,
Oh, you gotta. I'll send it to you later. If you guys are Doctor Who fans, especially the reboot after with Eccleston going on, the Are You My Mummy episode. It's a bunch of kids that wear gas masks. It's a little terrifying. I mean, it's terrifying as who can be, right? It's cheesy.
I was thinking,
and with that,
Bane. Well, Bane, because it's kind of like we do the podcast.
For you, the people.
you merely adopted the dark. I was born in it. Do you know that in the theatrical release, his voice was much higher pitched? And Hardy had to, it was almost comical. And for the DVD and Blu-ray releases, they dropped it several octaves. So it sounded more menacing. They did that in post-production. Yeah.
For you, the people.
Yeah. The stuff I learned.
And with that,
take care of yourselves and each other.
be safe.
Kermit.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
And in my next notable mention from CNET.com, Netflix. In the days following the policy change, Netflix. One more time.
Did you know that MSP Dispatch will never go dork? Jesus Christ, I can't say words today. I'm done. I quit. Tony, I said it's all on you, bro. I'm done. Jesus Christ. All right. Let me do that from the top one more time.
But aren't we always dorky? A little dorky?
Right?
I mean,